Welcome. My name is Douglas Getz, and you've found your way to the Diving and Thriving podcast. Here, we have enlightening conversations about how we can better navigate this sometimes crazy world we live in. From refreshing spiritual perspectives to tips about personal growth, the focus here is about how we can become better human beings. So I'd like to thank you for being here today, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome, everyone, to the Diving and Thriving podcast. Today, my guest is Thomas Deissroth. Tom, how you doing?
Doing well, Douglas. How are you today?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I'm happy to have you on. You know, we've been friends. How long have we been friends? Since like 2013, 2012?
Well, I'm happy to be on. And I believe we did meet. I think it was actually your senior year that we met. Not to dive into a straight memory, but I remember another friend of ours, Shimon Jones, yourself, and I were driving in my car, and we had a little water balloon incident.
Oh, yeah. That was a riot.
Yes, so I believe I met you your beginning of your senior year, and I actually think Tyler Strickland introduced us
Yep.
together.
Yeah, it was Tyler Strickland. Yeah. You were a Haddon Township kid.
Yes.
I was a Collingswood kid, and we crossed paths through Strickland. That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I met Strickland through basketball, playing at Oak Glen. I think that's how I met Strickland.
Nice. That's cool, man. That's cool. Yeah. We've had some real good times, some good lifting sessions, some good adventures.
Agreed.
It's been a pleasure, man. So yeah,
Second.
you just recently made a big move. Yeah.
Yep. So
You're
yeah,
no longer in New Jersey.
yeah, correct. As you know, my background was Philly born and South Jersey raised, being around you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, recently moved back in September to South Carolina.
Nice.
And it's definitely different. Attempting to make new friends in a foreign place and in the middle of a pandemic, so that's definitely interesting. But I mean, I've always said that you know who your true friends are by talking to them once a week or once a month and staying in contact with those people. So that's when you know that if something actually goes wrong and you don't have family to rely on, that you can call those people and they'll drop everything and help you out.
Yeah. That's true, man. Good friends are hard to come by, but you know, they make life more enjoyable for sure.
100% agree.
For sure. So yeah, what made you choose to leave New Jersey? Because right now I hear there's a big transition out of New York. People from New York are moving into New Jersey, and then people from New Jersey are going west or south or elsewhere, pretty much.
Yeah, well, I mean, to kind of go into the background of why myself and my family moved, and then kind of go into the trend of why I think people are moving. I mean, it was a conversation that got brought up by my brother and his wife, Kylie, probably about 2 years ago. And they stated that, hey, like, why don't we move to South Carolina? And it wasn't like just out of thin air, based upon our jobs with my brother and I and my father. So we travel a lot for sales. So we were always down in this area and always stayed with our cousins and always loved it. It was like a lot more open and cost effective, so on and so forth. So when my brother established kind of that first notion, and a few family members passed away that we were close to, in South Jersey and Philadelphia, it was kind of one of those things like, okay, what's holding us back now? And Brian and Kylie made an offer on a house, and they moved in, and we're like, oh, this is happening. Yeah, so it kind of went from 0 to 100 really quick. But I mean, the reasons why we moved is it's more open, it's more cost effective. The laws down here, there's something called the Castle Doctrine, as we priorly were talking about. In New Jersey, if someone breaks into your home, if you're physically able to actually leave and run, you're supposed to. Compared to South Carolina, that you're supposed to, well, not supposed to, you're allowed to stand your ground. It's called the Castle Doctrine. So I am personally a fan of Castle Doctrine because I have all my belongings and everything in my home. I'm going to defend my house. So that was one of the reasons that, like I mentioned, the more openness, and how you get more bang for your buck. And then just taxes in general. I mean, it was kind of insane that you could have the same size house in New Jersey. So let's just say you had a $300,000 house in New Jersey and it was 3 bedrooms and 2 baths and ballpark 1,500 square feet. You can get the same exact house for the same price in South Carolina, but when in New Jersey, you're paying like $10,000 a year in property taxes, and down here, you're paying anywhere from $800 to about like maybe $1,500. So it's just absolutely insane. And we all kind of looked at each other, like, yeah, we're out.
Yeah, that makes
And
a lot of
then
sense.
kind of going with the trend, as you asked, about why people are starting to move from like New York to South Jersey. And it's funny enough that someone from New York bought my brother's house when they moved from New Jersey.
Yeah.
So I do see the trend of people moving from the New York area, New Jersey area, down south and a little and towards west, just because that people are on top of each other. And the crime rates, I mean, I don't know if they're going up, but they're certainly not getting any better. And certainly I know that people are smart enough where they know that, hey, listen, I'm paying this amount of money in property taxes and I can get this amount of land. Like they're not, they're understanding and they know how much it is to move and so on and so forth. Um, but I think because of how people are on top of each other up in the Northeast and the cost of living, is having the trickling effect of people moving down south and a little bit west, just for all those reasons. And uh, I truthfully, the only thing that I really, really missed about the Northeast is my friends. Besides that, I have no regrets whatsoever. So I would say the cost of living is the reason why that the trend is people from the Northeast are moving down here.
Yeah, I also hear that it's like a lot of COVID restrictions as well. So like
Yeah,
New
that
York,
that's also
New
something.
York has had some crazy restrictions. New Jersey is pretty damn close with that. And the further south you go, the more relaxed it is. And
Yeah.
so just naturally, that's also like a force that's pushing people south and west.
Yeah, you're definitely not wrong on that, especially with I call them yuppies, to people that are in between the ages of like I'd say about 27 to about I don't know 40.
Mhm.
I personally see more of the trend of those like age people moving down for that COVID reason. And as you mentioned, things are pretty tight in New York and New Jersey's not too far off compared to here. That if I wanted to go out to a bar tonight, I can go do that. There's no limit right now on how many people can be in there, and it's open until 2 o'clock in the morning, and I don't have to wear a mask either.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I had it was and the restrictions that these bars and things they have to go to, they didn't set them up. It was the health department and
Correct.
stuff. But I've seen some insanely stupid situations regarding like you need to wear a mask. For one, I was at a Five Guys maybe a couple weeks ago with my brother, and
Yep.
I asked him, I was like, "Do you have a mask with you?" And he said, "I only have one." I said, "Okay, well, you go walk to the table like 15 feet in there, pull your shirt above your nose like that. Once you get to the table, you can sit down and like pull your shirt down, and I'll use the mask and I'll go order us our food." And I was like, isn't it bizarre that you need to pull your shirt over your nose for a 15-foot walk to get to your seat? I was like, that
Well,
seems retarded. That doesn't make
it's
sense.
it's definitely one of those things that are not the smartest thing, in my opinion. Now, do I believe that COVID is real? 100%.
Yeah.
Do I feel like masks help? Yes, but it's kind of like one of those things that okay, and in South Carolina, you have to put on the mask when you walk into a restaurant too, until you
Mhm.
get to the table.
Yeah.
But it's one of those type of things that okay, once I'm at the table, I can take off the mask. So it's one of those like kind of not fully thought through rules that,
Yeah.
okay,
Not fully
so
thought
I
through.
walk into the restaurant, still I'm staying social distance except from the people that I'm with, and magically I have COVID attacking me compared to us turn around and sit down and, oh, I have this magical bubble around me that COVID can't get into. That's not the case at all.
No.
You have your server right in your face. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I had I mean, at least the server's wearing masks all the time.
yes.
Um, but I had an even better one. So we were at a local bar up here that with the pool table in Oakland,
Yes.
and like we're playing pool, and it was a packed bar, and everyone that's at tables and standing near tables, they're not wearing masks. But if you had to walk up to the bar to order a drink, you had to wear a mask. And we were playing pool, and they said we had to wear masks playing pool. And it was pretty retarded because we're looking at tables and there's like 20 people like clustered together. And we're two people playing pool and we got to wear masks. So the person I was with asked the person, why do we have to wear masks? Like while we're
Yeah.
playing pool, I don't get it. And the response was not like a normal response, like, well, the health department requires it, so we're just following their guidelines. We can't control what stupid things they. It wasn't a response like that. What he said was, your breathing and your breath goes onto the pool balls, and that's something that can spread it. And I was like, just you're better off just putting the blame on the health department than coming up with some bullshit reason like you're
At,
breathing on the cue ball.
at that point, put latex gloves at the table because you have to rack the balls when you're like originally about to play. You're
It's
touching
rack the
the
balls,
cue
and then
balls
it's
and every single ball. Like,
it's the cue sticks as well.
yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
makes
they should have like, I mean, if they're gonna go to that extent and saying that the masks are required when you're playing for your breath going on the cue ball or X, Y, and Z, they should have sanitation wipes when you're done to wipe down the pool sticks and the pool balls.
they should.
Or have a glove when you're handling the pool balls. So
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes much more sense. I mean, there's every state's handled it differently. And I hear like California has done like some crazy stuff. Like they're not open for a lot of things. Like a lot of restaurants there aren't open for indoor dining. And so like there's a lot of stuff that's changed. One of the biggest things, one of the biggest issues, and they didn't even think this through, was like gyms and like exercise places. I think when they were closing everything down, they didn't realize how important those places were to everybody's mental health. So
yeah.
just the fact of like you got to get your energy out. You can't just sit in your house all day. You're like stir crazy. I can
Don't
see how
like
my
that.
mom, right? You're twiddling your thumbs all day. I could see how my mom was when she was in the house all day, and I could see myself if I was in the house all day. We were just like saying stupid shit to each other, like
Yep.
getting
And
on a
you and I
case.
both know, you and me are social people
Yeah,
that if I'm like, there are days where I'm just like, I want to be a hermit. Like I kind of want to stay home and like just like have a lazy day or like sleep in or whatnot. But 9 out of 10 times you turn around and I mean, like you called me, hey Tom, what are you doing? Nothing. Want to come over? Okay.
yeah,
And we turn around and we do something. Like that's how you and I relationship was. Like and it's crazy because the other day it was like, geez, it had to be like 72, 73 degrees here.
mhm.
Um, and I was talking with my parents and my brother, and I'm like, all right, so what are we doing today? Because we had plans. And they turned around like, oh, well, I got to do this and I got to do that. I'm like, okay, so what are we doing? And they're like, oh, I don't know. We can hang out around like 5 o'clock. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm like, it is a beautiful day out. I'm like, if I sit in this house all day on this beautiful day, I'm going to hate myself for it. I go, and I'm
Exactly.
going to go crazy.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I know. It's
I
like,
am right on par with you about that. That the mental health standpoint of stay home as much as you can. Like I love my family, I do, but in the same breath, I have my own apartment for a reason.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's they went to some serious extremes. And I kind of get it because they weren't sure like if it was going to be the next Spanish flu or something and kill like one out of every 10 people. So like I kind of get that and I understand the overreaction, but they closed like all the parks and they like closed basketball courts and
Yeah.
to the extent where they're taking the rims off the basketball like nets.
Yeah, I do remember that a little bit when I was still in Jersey, that they
That's
closed the
right.
parks and whatnot, because I always took my brother's dog to the dog park.
Mm-hmm.
And there was actually signs that it was closed, and there was a storm that hit not too like before when I went, and I saw like 4 or 5 people have their dogs in, and I was like, forget this. And like I went around the down fence and I brought the
Exactly.
dog in and I started playing, and no one said anything. Like the other people were like, yeah, the fence was down, we brought him in, and yeah, we're like,
Now we're here.
if they want to kick us out or fine us, like they're gonna have to kick out a lot of people and fine a lot of people. So I mean, I don't think parks should truly be closed. Golf courses, I don't think should be closed.
Yeah.
I mean, you just got to use your brain when it comes to things that are outdoors, like Top Golf. I mean, there's enough like space in between people on Top Golf and stuff like that. You can't turn around, and I get it. They're trying to protect everybody, but you can't turn around and close a bunch of stuff and expect people to follow every single guideline. If anything, the more things you close, the more people are going to rebel.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying by any means that okay, like COVID's like still here, or go on an airplane and go to California or go wherever you want. I'm not saying that by any means because you're in close proximity with people. But closing parks, really? Closing golf
They're
courses,
closing
basketball
parks.
courts? Like, no, basketball courts, I sort of see that because you're playing a sport, but in the same breath, like you got to keep it open for people to keep their mental health and fitness up too. Like they say that America is obese, like, and you're closing every possible means of
Yeah.
exercise. Like,
Of being
do you think
healthy.
we're gonna get fit all of a sudden?
Hmm. Yeah, no, didn't make much sense. You understand the overreaction, but as we look back in hindsight, the amount of people I heard there was a statistic in Japan, there was more people that died from suicide than there were from COVID deaths.
You know, that really doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Because kind of going with that COVID death thing, like I mentioned, it is real. And I mean, I don't want to get it. I don't want you to get it, so on and so forth. Any of my family members. But in the same breath, it's a well-known fact now that, and I have people in the medical industry that I know. I have someone that's becoming a doctor, someone that I know that's EMT, and they're both in Jersey because that's where I'm from. And they even straight up said that my EMT buddy turned around and said, "Yeah, I was working on this guy when I had a house call, and he wound up passing away of a heart attack. Wound up getting taken to the hospital. They so happened to test him with COVID, and because he had COVID, now it's a COVID death.
That's right. Yeah.
And hospitals are getting kickbacks because when they classify it as a COVID death, so those numbers are completely skewed. Because a perfect example is that EMT, my EMT buddy, turned around and told me, yeah, he died of a heart attack, but because he had COVID, and now it's a COVID death.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's
So I
and
guess
it's
in
like
some little world that makes sense to them.
I guess so, man. And I didn't understand that. There was a lot going on with like hospitals and things. There are countless cases like that. Shaman even had a story of somebody went to get their COVID test and it was like this long ass line. They're like, they were registered, but they're like, we're leaving. Well, they got a call later that day and she said, yeah, you have COVID. And she was like, I didn't even take the test. What do you mean I got COVID? So it's stuff like that. I mean, I had it back in December. I don't know if I told you. I think I did,
Yeah, I
but
do remember.
it wasn't even the worst, honestly. Like the biggest issue with COVID is the underlying conditions. If you're obese, if you have heart problems, if you're not taking care of yourself,
Yep.
you're just naturally you're not gonna survive
You're
as
not going to do well with it. Just like if you get any illness, whether it's a cold or whether it's the flu
exactly.
or whether it's pneumonia, uh, if you're not, I mean, I'm not telling you you have to be like TJ Strungbone and have muscles popping out to the gill and a six pack and X, Y, and Z. But if you can't turn around and walk a mile and and you're completely out of breath to the point where you're going to piss out, like that's a problem. Like
Yeah. Hmm.
Anybody should be able to walk a mile at a decent pace or their own pace and be able to do it. So there's
Hmm.
just some people that can't.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of issues, honestly, with health wise, you know, because I talked to my chiropractor about this, and this is a big thing in medicine where it's more so medicine is reactive and not proactive. So if you get a sickness, they're like, all right, here's some pills, or here's this, or here's that. But you're waiting until your body's screaming at you to
Gets
go get help.
attacked by it.
Exactly. Versus taking the proactive approach, which is let me eat healthy, let me go like exercise. Like, all right, if I do junk food, it's like fast food, it's like once or twice a week. It's not like consistent. And
Yep.
so you start to be in charge of your health versus you're reacting to your health, and your body's screaming, hey, I got pains here, I got pains here. Now it's time to go see somebody. And then they give you a prescription for something, or they give you a routine or like
Like
something to
checkup. Yeah.
dull the symptoms, but not
Yeah.
get to the root of the issue.
Yeah, I find it interesting, and trust me, I'm no master chef by any means, but I truly feel like that each individual, instead of going out and buying fast food or going and getting ice cream like from the ice cream place, so on and so forth. And I'm not saying that like there shouldn't be places that like you can go ahead and get that stuff, because trust me, on a Sunday night when I've been up all day and
Yeah.
uh, the last thing I want to do is cook. Obviously, now I haven't eaten fast food in a really long time, but the last thing I'm going to do is probably cook. Um, but
Yep.
that said, I feel like people, like you said, need to take control of their own health. And I feel like the good way to do that is by cooking for yourself, because when I personally cook for myself, and truthfully, I'm not very diverse. I mean, I can do tacos, I can do chicken. I mean, obviously vegetables, so on and so forth. But I watch what I eat. Like instead of having breaded chicken, I turn around just to have grilled chicken. Like that's obviously a
Exactly.
choice. There's breadcrumbs on there is adding fat. Just like I've turned around and I started doing sit-ups and push-ups every morning. I've actually now, and this is just a test to myself, just to see how my body reacts to it.
Mhm.
I think today's the 19th. I actually haven't drinking alcohol in the past 18 days.
Hey,
I've
nice.
been testing myself, see A, if I can do it, and
Mhm.
B, how my body reacts health wise. And then on top of that, I still have a fruit smoothie and everything every single morning and a veggie smoothie. So it's all about life choices of what you do. And now I only do egg white omelets and stuff like that. So we're
Yeah.
gonna have
Oh
a test
yeah,
of the
you're
fitness
on
here
a
soon.
health kick.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna have a test of the fitness soon here.
That's good, man. That's really good. You know, it's much better that way to be proactive about your health than reactive. You're much better
And
set up.
yeah, and trust me, the older that we get, the less likely we're gonna be to go to the gym and lift weights and do push-ups and do sit-ups. And by that time, I mean, the only way we're growing right now is that way with our stomachs. So we're only growing
Yeah.
outward at this point.
Got to
Our
be
height is
careful.
already determined. So
Mhm. But even then, once you're in your like 60s, you can have a modified workout plan. You might not be running, but you might be able to do the stationary bike
yeah,
or
yeah,
something that's not high impact, not high stress, but still gets your heart rate up. And the key to health is it's always going to be diet and exercise.
yep,
Yeah, there's no
yeah.
magic pill.
I've always said, what is it? Eat less and work out more. But I mean, in addition to that, like you said, diet and exercise,
Yeah.
eat less with the right foods and work out more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I had a tip from a foods teacher in high school, and she says, eat the rainbow. And what that meant was don't eat a fuck ton of skillets or Skittles. That's not what she meant. She meant try to fill your plate with like blueberries and fruits of different colors, of like vegetables of different colors, of meats and starches,
That makes
thi-
perfect sense.
things like that, so that you're eating the rainbow, eating foods of different colors. So that was a tip that I quote off and on. But
Yeah, no, I think that's eating the rainbow is definitely. I mean, you kind of like you're like eat the rainbow. I'm like, yeah, take them back at first, but that makes truly a lot of sense. Obviously, you don't want just one color of food. Like you don't want just like baked chicken with breadcrumbs on top. Like obviously, you want to have some blueberries in there and throw a banana in there and throw like salad in there and spinach and so on and so forth. I mean, you
yep.
see on your last statement that you got to take control of your own health, and it's definitely a problem. And truly, what kind of I guess the grinds my gears is that you have people that are overweight and they turn around and they're eating like a Chick-fil-A sandwich or something like that. And they turn around and go, man, I don't know why I'm overweight. And meanwhile, I have like two or three chicken Chick-fil-A sandwiches in front of them. Like I work out and I do this and I do that. And I'm like, and if they're talking to me about, I'm like, have you changed your diet at all? What does that have to do with anything? I'm like, if you don't change your diet, you can turn around and work out 10 hours a day and you're not going to do anything because your calorie intake is too high and you're not eating foods that are
Right.
good for you. Like I go, I guarantee you that you could not work out and you could eat healthier and as well as less, and I bet you'd lose weight. And
Yep.
trust me, a testament to that because what I did was is I cut my portions at one point, and I'm talking about maybe a year ago that I
Yeah.
cut my portions. I was a little bit heavier than I was,
Hmm.
and when I did that, I lost about 15 pounds, but it was a span of like 7 to 8 months. But I lost 15 pounds.
Yeah.
So I mean, so when it comes to the health and wellness, I mean, not only eating the right foods and portion control, because your mind is definitely saying, "Oh, I want 3 pieces of chicken," when in reality, you really only need one.
Yeah. 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 Portion control is big. I hear people do intermittent fasting. I also hear like one of the big things is making sure you're burning more calories than you're taking in.
That's fair.
That's like a big one. Um, yeah, yeah, eating less is a big one too. You'd be surprised if you eat less, if you skip like a meal or two or just like have snacks instead. You'd be surprised how much more free time you have.
Isn't that so true?
I went through a time where I was fasting. I fasted for a couple days and I was just drinking fruit juice and tea and water, and I had so much more free time. Like I wasn't worried about breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
That's
It,
awesome.
it was, yeah, because most people their days are planned around breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
You're not wrong.
And once they're done breakfast, they're thinking, all right, where are we doing for lunch? 2 hours later, they're having that conversation. And it's
You're not
funny.
wrong.
Yeah, it's funny. Um, but yeah, man. So another thing I wanted to get into is your sales job. So
Yes.
I did and I'm curious because I kind of want to pick your brain on how your sales go. Because I worked in a appliance store for a little
Okay.
bit as a salesman, and I picked up little bits of how the process went and whatnot. And I never didn't spend enough time to master it. When I did the little bit of sales that I was like successful at was for an event that I promoted that was called the One Peaceful World Mini Music Festival. And we went into businesses and pitched it to businesses and got donations, and proceeds from our raffle, which their donations were going to go to, was to help the homeless in Somerset County. It was something that I was fully passionate about. I loved. And that's why I was good at it. But there are people that are salesmen that can just sell anything. And so, exactly. So I'm curious as to hear like your take on it. Like I hear one of the things is like you got to first ask them questions, qualify them, make sure they need your product or they're interested. But then after that, it's like there's like a conversation and you get better at it over time, but how that interaction flows from start to finish, from like I'm curious to writing the order.
I got you. Well, I mean, the general gist of the way I do business, and obviously depends on um, what setting that you're at. So let's just say I was in your retail job. of that appliance store.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm going to be diligent and I'm going to be scanning the room and seeing if any specific people like are acknowledging a salesperson's presence as far as soon as they walk in, compared to if they're hanging out in like the bed section or the couch section, so on and so forth. And then depending on that, let's just say they're at the bed section. So I'm that salesman that goes over, and you're the client. You're the person that's looking at the bed. I go, hello, sir. How are you today? Obviously, you come back and you're like, oh, I'm doing well. And I'm going to say, well, I see you're looking at beds today. Yeah. I'm going to be like, oh, we have obviously a wide variety of beds. What's like your setting? Like, do you have a 2-bedroom house? Are you looking for 1 bed? Are you looking for 2 beds? What's your budget? Are you looking for more comfortability? Are you looking for more advanced as far as where it's like a sleep number where you're actually able to set your setting? And you just keep picking their brain and asking a handful of questions. And then based upon their needs, I go, okay, you want a more firm bed. You don't want a sleep number bed. You want something that's basic. You're not looking to spend anything like $1,000 or $2,000. You're looking to spend anywhere between a couple $100 to maybe like $700. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And I'd be like, okay, well, let's bring you to that section there. And I'd be like, all right, test out this bed. Okay, how do you like that? And I'll take notes. All right, you sort of like that bed. All right, try this one. Take notes on that, so on and so forth. And after I show them those beds, I obviously write down the item numbers of those beds. I turn around and I kind of rank them based upon what they said of how they like them. And I'm going to be like, all right, come over to my desk real quick. I'm going to be like, all right, this is the one that you liked first. That was like the top echelon one that you liked. That's the price of this. That's a little bit more than I want to pay. I'm like, all right, well, here's the next step down. Here's the one that you like second. And they're like, oh, okay, that's the price that I like. I feel comfortable with. And I'm like, well, to be honest with you, this bed's a little bit better and you're actually paying less. So here, let's go lay on that second bed that you were talking about. Okay. And then let's lay on this bed. And he's like, yeah, I like this one a lot better. And I go, well, that one's $700 that you just laid on, the first one. This one's $600. Oh, I'd rather have this one. So that's the way I do sales, is that I turn around and I pick someone's brain as far as asking as much questions as possible. To the point, like if you're at a concert venue, how you mentioned the concerts, obviously you're going to go ahead and approach the head honcho at the concert, and you're going to turn around and say, hey, like, do you have any like well-known artists coming to your concert, or are you trying to promote the concert more? Well, let's just say they don't have really any well-known artists. Let's just say it's kind of like local artists and stuff like that that are come up and rising, so to speak. So you turn around and you go, okay, well, how many people are you projected coming to the concert? 5,000. I go, okay, well, but those 5,000 people, have you thought of handing anything out during the concert? Well, what do you mean? I go, well, you can do a couple different things. You can think of a promotional product where you can use it to, when you're on stage, to throw it out to the crowd. And that's going to be your inexpensive product where it's like $1, $2, $3 at the most, compared to that you're selling t-shirts and it's summer, you got tank tops as well. Okay, this is going to be more of like your $15, $20 item, and you're selling it for $25, $30, so you're making a profit.
Yeah.
So it depends all about the client, but at the end of the day, all you have to do is basically be educated on their scenario or on their business. And then once you have that, you're golden, because you got all the answers that you need for success. All you have to do is steer them in the right direction of what they asked for or what you feel like would be a good product. So for that concert venue, obviously something that could toss out to the crowd, t-shirts, sunglasses, sunscreen, stuff like that, because obviously you're going to be outdoors.
Yeah.
So just got to think of all of that type of stuff. So that's how I basically do sales. I will not push anything that someone doesn't need. So for an example, if they don't need a t-shirt, I'm going to be like, okay, well, what things have you done in the past that have been successful?
Yeah.
Oh, this. Well, do you want to do something different, or do you want to stay on that same trend? Oh, the same trend. Then I'll go towards that same thing, and obviously provide the pricing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, honestly. And what? So what? I guess it's a good time to plug into your business, your sales job, or whatnot. What products do you guys peddle? What is the name of the company if people are interested in finding you?
So I can't deliver too much info as far as the in-depths about how the industry works, just because it's part of a specific industry. But the name of our company is called APPI, which stands for Advertising, Promotions, Premiums, and Incentives.
Okay.
And we're considered what they call a multi-line rep group. So obviously you have the suppliers that make the products themselves. So whether it's water bottles, whether it's towels, whether it's technology products, plush products for like teddy bears and stuff like that, so on and so forth. And what we do is that we come in because the supplier might be small, but to the point that they're making enough money for representation. So Andy, who's from the plush company, might want representation from his company, but he's too vital to the actual factory himself that he can't turn around and go to trade shows and office appointments and do Zoom meetings, and pitch the products to the clients to get more sales. So that's where we come in, where we partner with these suppliers and these companies. We make sure that we don't have any crossover with the products. So I don't have two plush companies or anything like that. And ultimately, we do trade shows, office appointments, lunch and learns, breakfasts, Zoom meetings, so on and so forth, and display their products, talk about their products, and kind of do that same general gist of the conversation of finding out about the company that we're meeting with and what markets they sell into. But I mean, as an APPI standpoint, we have a towel line, a plush line. We get into socks and custom jerseys, and then even a plant that sells seeds, basically. But they're sending them out with branded logos on a pouch or a cup, and they do. It's basically an environmental company, and when you scan a QR code, they'll in turn actually plant a tree themselves. So it's you plant a tree, we plant a tree. You turn around, take pictures, and put that on social media. They'll actually plant an additional tree as well, which is really cool. So those are the companies that I have, and I mean, I've been in sales now, geez, truly since I mean all my life, but I was part time since 2015, full time since 2016. So I've been doing it for since I graduated college. It was not anything near what I majored in, being a criminal justice major.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, I think they say 1% of people that actually get a degree get a job in what their degree is in, which is kind of scary. But is there so the next topic, is there anything specific that you have as far as the industry that you wanna know about, or?
Can you still hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Good. Yeah, no, I think I'm pretty sure the number is bigger than 1% that the type that actually gets a career in their field. But
It might have
it's
changed, yes.
but it's definitely a big thing, going to college and getting a degree. Because I've talked about that a handful of times. You got to do it a smart way. You did it a smart way. You went to community college first, and that saved you probably like
Yes.
40, $50,000, right? Maybe more.
Yeah, that definitely saved me. I mean, comparing to going to a 4-year school at first, I mean, if I went to my 4-year school at first, I probably would have been about 80 to $100,000 in debt.
Yeah.
Compared to me doing county school first, I was only about like 45 to 50,000 in debt. So that definitely helped. And now that's down to probably about like 25, 30, which is nice. um, but no, kind of. I know you met with John Spike on one of your podcasts, and I know he made the reference to Rich Dad Poor Dad. So
Yes.
I know specifically when it comes to college that I didn't have this knowledge obviously at the time, but truly, college teaches you how to critically think. And at the end of the day, the way Rich Dad Poor Dad basically talked about it is that you want to go to college and teaching you how to make money work for you. And obviously, based upon that book too, of the way to get rich or get out of the rat race is to have your passive income more than your expenses.
Yes.
So if I could all said and done do it all over again, I probably would have went towards like accounting or finances or something like that nature, just so I knew how money worked a little bit better. But at the end of the day, having that education, as long as you're able to critically think, you'll be able to really accomplish anything that you can put your mind to.
Yeah. Yeah, and that really, it starts with that drive, honestly. Like, I want to do this. And if you're positive you want to do that, then you can find your way into it. You go into college to get that degree is probably worth it because you're passionate and you're interested in that. Um, and so then it works. Like I've talked about, if people like changing your degree in college in the later years is an expensive decision
Yep, it is. Yes, it is.
because you lose credit hours. Classes you took don't apply. You got another year now. That's
Yep.
another X amount of dollars. And yeah, it's tough. So, and there's also other ways that you can get into it. Getting experience is big. Some jobs may or may not require a college degree, even though
Yep.
pretty much a lot of jobs are nowadays. Um, some don't necessarily require it. And, people with more experience may be more valuable than a person with a college degree. Uh, and it's also like, what's your resume look like? You can intern with people. One crazy idea was that like you can reach out to whoever you want and tell them you want to work for them for free for 3 to 6 months. You'll work with them for free for that amount of time, or you could do that part-time and work another job. And like, even flip side is, hey, I'll pay you to work for you. I'll pay you to work under you because you're this high up in the industry and I need to know how you do what you do. And so
Sure.
later, after you do a 3 month or 6 month stint with that person, you go to other jobs and employers and they see that on your resume. You worked with this musical artist. Like, wow, that's, yeah, I
Yeah,
was their
and put
personal
you in a hot
assistant.
job.
Yeah, and I, like, believe it or not, if you even mention I paid them to work with them, they'd say this guy's committed. This person is serious about it. So there's other ways to get it done, but it's really a really I really like those ways of seeing new ways to go about something. I really
Yeah, I
love
agree.
that. It kind of opens up what's possible. Once you get a new process of how to do something, you're like, wait a minute, like that those are some other options. I remember my dad is a very forward thinking, kind of open mindset kind of guy. So where most people go this way, he might go that way. Or
Yeah, he
it's
goes
just
definitely
nice.
the path less traveled in a good way.
Yeah, yeah. And it's always nice getting that other perspective of things.
Oh, agreed.
And so I remember one time I was working this mini golf job in Ocean City.
I remember
Remember that?
that.
Yeah. I was working the mini golf job and I was staying with my pop-up for about 3 days because it was easier. It was like a 10-minute drive. It was much closer. And there was a party going on for this one kid's going away. So there's a party going on after work. I'm 18 at the time. A guy invites me if I want to go. And I say, I'd love to, but oh man, I'm staying with my pop-up. I can't stay out. I pretty much got to go home when I'm done work at 10. And then I sat with that idea for a little bit and I said, wait a minute, I'm 18. I can make my own decisions. Like I should be able to go to this party if I want to. And so I called my dad and I said, hey, dad, what do you think? Because my dad knew my pop up well. He was his mentor for a little bit in the electrical union. So he knew my pop-up well, and he said, your pop-up's the type of guy who likes to make decisions. He likes to be in control.
Yeah.
So I would say phrase it to him in a way where, hey, pop-up, I'm looking to go to this party tonight. Do you want me to come in? If I come back in, I'll probably be in at like 2 a.m. around that time. So I can either come back at 2 a.m. or I can stay out all night. Well, what do you think I should do? And I told him that. He said, you're probably better staying out all night. And I said, okay, I don't have a problem.
I love how you didn't give him the other option of like, would you rather me come home or should I like, can I go to this party and come home at
Yeah,
2 a.m. or should I come home? Like he didn't even give him
there
either
was
option. He just said,
exactly.
should I come home at 2 a.m. or should I stay out all night?
I know that was the beauty of it, which was like to decide, all right, I'm going to go do this. Would you rather me come home at 2 a.m. or stay out all night? And instead of, hey, Papa, can I go to this party tonight?
Yeah, that's a really good thought process. I got to give a tip to your hat on your father on that one.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And that night was one of the funniest, best nights of the whole summer for me. Like hands down. There
That's
was
phenomenal.
this dude, he had like these we were there. We left to go get food. We come back and the house is like all dark. And it was me and another friend who were like the last ones at this party, and the host of the party is asleep. And so we're just like hanging out there and like we're crashing into this place basically. And so we go in and it's like pitch black. And like my friend and I, we smoked before we left. So we're coming back into this dark house. We're like, this is creepy. We're trying to like reach around for a light switch. And in the corner of the room, we hear, hello. What the fuck was that? Oh, two. And a little bit later, we hear, hello. It's like, oh my God, what the fuck is that? Eventually, we find a light switch. And then there's these two big ass cages, like the size of like a whole wall. Two of them took up a whole wall. And there's two parrots in these cages. And they're making noises. Hello. It's like, what? This is wild. And like, we're buzzed at the time. And I threw like an eraser at the cage. And the thing goes, ow. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fucking hilarious. It's moments like that really bring our light, like really bring enjoyment to our lives. Like it would have been just a regular night if I'd stayed at home, but I stayed out and had this hilarious adventure because the one kid that I hung with that night, I never saw him again. But he was such a funny dude, and we're making hilarious jokes. And the host of the party's like drunk as hell, waking up from sleep, and we're trying to put on a movie. And my friend's fucking with him. It's like, I don't know how to make this work. And my friend's like, no, it's HDMI 12. Go to HDMI 12. There's no HDMI 12. But he's like, oh yeah, man, we were out at Wawa. We saw your grandma out there. She wanted us to tell you need to call her. And he was like, my grandmother's 84 years old, okay? She lives in South Carolina or wherever. It was her birthday yesterday. I didn't call her. And like a whole bunch of shit. And I'm just dying laughing on the couch. Like one of the best nights of my life that I can remember that was filled with so much laughter. It was just a joy to be there. And then like I fell asleep in a recliner, woke up the next day, and then went to work wearing like the same clothes, the same because we had like mini golf
Yeah, specific
t-shirts.
t-shirts that said the golf place you worked for, so you had
Yeah,
to wear
so
the same shirt.
I put it back on and go to work, and it was a blast, man. It was a blast.
That's
And
fun.
yeah, it's moments like that that really kind of when you
Stick in
ask
your mind.
how can I do this instead of like can I do this or like things like that. The questions we ask are really important because either we're like our mindset is for making it happen or it's just accepting that it won't happen.
No,
So
I'm following you. It's funny you mentioned that because I know there's going to be something that pops up that like I really, really want to do. For an example, that party you were just talking about,
yeah.
and I can't think of something that like it's going to be that I really, 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 really want to do. But I'm going to really formulate the question. instead of saying, "Hey, I really want to do this," or "Should I come home because I got this tomorrow?" Like, no, like here's a prime example. Like, my family and I are going archery shooting tomorrow,
Yeah.
and it's going to be early in the morning. Like, we got to be there at 10, and it's like an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
Um, so obviously we got to leave like plenty of time, so on and so forth. And if I wanted to go out tonight and get drunk or something like that, like, I mean, obviously I live in my own place and I don't got to ask permission, but let's just say I had to, I could turn around and go like, so should I stay out all night or should I come home at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Oh, man. It was a sense of, wait a minute, I'm 18. I should be allowed to go to this party if I want to. How should I phrase this conversation? Basically, is how do I put it? How do I put it is a big part of saying something.
Yeah.
A lot of times people say it's it's not what you say, it's how you say it. But there are also times we need to be like coached on like what do I say to this person? How do I phrase it? What You're kind of like a little bit of a loss because sometimes like things are new, we get into something new, we need some guidance on how to phrase something.
Yeah.
I knew a lady who was a mentor for a brief period of time. She used to be a journalist in Washington, D.C., among other things. And one of the things she said was that asking good questions is the shortcut in life. Is one of the great
Hmm.
shortcuts in life because you can make connections that may otherwise never have been made. Opportunities may come up that otherwise may have never come up because of that.
Take a point.
Yeah. So what it was that she was a journalist in Washington, D.C. And she would go to a press conference of some figure, and she would spend the majority of her morning rehearsing the question that she was going to ask. And like the inflection that she would put, the words she emphasized, how it sounded as she said it. And what that did was they would do two things when she was called on. She would, one, ask a really good question that would build rapport with the speaker. And so the person would be like, "Oh, that's so and so from ABC Publications or something." Okay, and then he makes a mental note. That was a good question. Okay, so if he ends up doing an interview, he may choose her. She may be at the top of the list. The second thing that question does is it shows it everyone else in the room hears your question. So as a result, you're kind of building rapport with everybody else in the room and they're getting to know you. So that's also like a trick. And this may come into play with you if you ever go to a work related event, like if you're trying to build your sales career or
Hmm.
something. Because there's a lot of like trainings. So like any type of training, uh, it's perfect time to ask a good question. If they say, "Does anybody have any questions?" That's like a perfect time to really set yourself apart from a group because now you're asking a question in a room of 50 to 100 people. And now because right after that, a break is coming for refreshments and everything, that like countless people are going to come up and talk to you, be like, "Hey man, that was a good question." Like, thanks. And it's already an ease of that new introduction occurring between peers.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. And
Yeah.
I mean, kind of to tie off of what you just said, and it's in a different setting when I say this next statement, but it's almost like the statement that I'd rather ask a question and be a fool for a second than a fool for life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
obviously, on an interview standpoint, obviously you should know what your question is, and you shouldn't be like if you're interviewing a basketball player, you shouldn't be like you're a basketball player, right? Like obviously you don't want to ask something like that because then you'll
Yeah.
just be a fool for life, even asking that question. I mean, but compared to like I don't know, you're at a promo sales event, and I don't know who the person's company is, but I can see their name tag, and I go, sorry, but what company are you with? Like I'd rather be a fool for a second. Like the fact that I don't remember them or whatnot, or I can't see their company name on their tag. Like, it's a good question. Like, I got to know who I'm talking to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big thing. Um, so yeah, little tips, little like little life lessons, you know. They're aspects that really can kind of jump you ahead in the skill or the profession that you're in. And so it's really like key to be able to pick that up and share them too. So
Right.
yeah, I'm really happy that I've got some good people that I've learned from over the years. And
Yeah, it's funny because you learn from a lot of people in your life. Obviously, your parents are a big influence, and I started reading this one book, and I can't remember the name of it, which I wish I could remember the name of it. But truthfully, what it does is it basically breaks you down, and what I mean by that is that it targets the way you grew up in life, and from your parents' standpoint, and this and so on and so forth, and that small things really matter to a kid. So, for an example, that you had a traumatizing incident, not only is physical touch, verbal communication, and like kind of soothingness is really important. Like, so if you're lacking kind of one of those three components, you're actually going to be more or less to not have that component in your life in a future relationship, whether it's with friends or a significant other. So it like really makes you like really think about your childhood and
Mhm.
how you were developed and things that you didn't have or traumatizing incidents that happened to you and why you react certain ways to certain things. Like as you can see, I can keep going on and on about this. Like it really is a good read. Like, and I'm
It's
only on chapter 3 of this book.
yeah. Yeah, man, that's such a fantastic subject, honestly, because I've looked into it myself. Like, because I love personal growth and self improvement, and like how we've become the way we are is such a big like mystery sometimes. Why do we react this way? Why do I feel this way? And it's like in things like our relationship toward money or how our relationship toward like romantic relationships occur.
Yep.
Like, why does this one situation keep coming up? And
Yeah. Yeah.
what is it within us that's making that come up? And so
Yeah,
a
it's
lot of the
almost like
big
you're getting held back. You're wondering what that thing that is holding
yeah,
you back is, and you're like,
yeah,
I just want to break through already, but like I got to get past
yeah,
this notch.
yep,
Oh, and that the name of the book's How We Love. It's actually a really good book,
okay,
and it's based on like kind of like from a marriage scenario. But I mean, it goes in depth of like how you were a child and so on and so forth. It's gonna be one of those ones I probably have to read multiple times because it's
it's
gonna go in so depth. Like,
it's fantastic stuff, man. It's one of the coolest subjects that I've found because it's so deeply rooted in personal growth and self-development because of how we are, how we grow as kids, we basically are learning how to survive.
yeah,
And like if we're in a household where we just got to shut up and not say anything for our parents not to have an outburst at us, that trickles into our career. And when we're in a career, we don't want our boss to yell at us. And so it's stuff like that. It's so
yep,
deeply rooted within us that what I love is that for us to change our outer world, a lot of times we need to change our inner world
yep.
first.
I knew you were gonna say that, and I 1,000% agree, sir.
Yeah.
I 1,000% agree with that statement.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah, and a lot of times people are so easy to do the blame game, like, "Doug, it was your fault. Like, this
Yeah.
is why this happened." But
Yeah.
in retrospect, it wasn't your fault that I turned around and decided to go bungee jumping and something happens. Like, and obviously that's an extreme. I was just trying to think of some random thing and that came in
Yeah.
my head. But I mean, but why would that be your fault? Like, yeah, you decided to go, but you didn't turn around and like and have a gun to my head and turn around and say you're going and doing this. Like it was my own choice. I decided to go bungee jumping. You were just saying, hey, I'm going bungee jumping. You can come if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, there's two really good quotes that come to mind. One is, I'm sure you've heard this one, that you can't control what happens to us. You can't control what happens, but we can control how we react to what happens.
Yes, I do remember that one.
So that's a big one. A lot of people have heard that. The other one that was really cool, which is related to our thinking, is so we can't always control our first thought, but we can control our second thought.
It's a good point.
And like, yeah, so that comes into like if we make snap judgments against people or feel a certain way, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't really feel that way. Like that's not. So it's like catching ourselves. And that's the beauty of self-awareness, is that it allows us to do that.
Yeah, it's almost like kind of one of those things on both of those statements and quotes, that it's almost like one of those things that you want to almost like count the three after someone says something,
Yeah.
and really process the information, because I'm definitely the type of person, at least when it comes to family, and I gotta really like that quote, like it is really, because it's easy to forget.
Yeah.
Um, but I
Especially with
know,
family.
like I was just about to say, with family, I'm always that first one, that first snap of like thought that comes into my head. It just comes straight out, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I could have said that in a different tone, or I could have said this, like, and then by
Yeah.
that point, it's already a done deal. Like I can't change it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Something about family. Like I feel like it's easier to work through like relationships at work or other things. Family, we're so tied to our family that we
Well,
can't, unless we like meditate or just had a really great experience, and we can come at it from a different state. If we've been day in and day out with our family, some things are still like childhood, and you'll be in your 30s or 40s and you're still holding the same, like, oh, my sister always thinks she's better than me.
yeah, well, it's funny you say that, because like I always said with family that obviously, like you said priorly, that they're the ones that teach us to survive in the future. And going upon that, whether or not we agree with the following statement, it is true that our family molded us who we are today. So parts of our mother and our father and our brother, um, and going into the depths of that, is that it's very easy to fight with those closest to you, meaning the family members, because you always have that first snap judgment or first snap statement that always comes out, and then also you've lived with them your whole entire life,
Yeah.
so it's really easy to fight with them because they know how to push your buttons. So it's one of those things that like sometimes like it's almost like they're doing it deliberately to see how you react, see if you like improved yourself, if that makes any sense.
It's
Like
yeah, it's like you're being tested by the universe.
yeah, and it's funny because like I shouldn't say I snapped, but uh, I didn't talk so keenly to my parents. When was it? Was it last night, or no? It was last night. And I turned around and said the blanketed statement of how many how many kids do you know that talk to their parents multiple times a day, whether it's face to face or a phone call. Like I said, how many times, like how many people do you know? I'm like, I want you to contact like your girlfriends or your friends, like that your friend, like, or my friends, like their kids, like contact the parents. I go, ask them how many times they talk to their kids a week. And I said, I bet you that if you call 10 people, 9 of them are gonna say, yeah, I talk to them once a week. So I kind of like was like, you guys like need to relax. Like, okay, I had my phone on the charger and I wasn't able to answer my phone because I was in the other room and eating breakfast. I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of it is, especially it starts because family is the closest, it's closest to home, it's within the home. And so setting boundaries is important. Like, yeah, we love them, and yeah, it's great. Then it's also like we got to make sure that us setting boundaries isn't uh is beneficial for us, because somebody can take too many steps into your life, or like be too much or uh, too
too
much.
involved or
Too
overstep
much.
their bounds and say, no, you're not going to that party. Yeah, I am going to that party.
Too much in one respect or another. And it's important because we got to realize, again, that's an internal thing. Like, I can't have this. And it's even better if we can bat it around with somebody and like explore the idea before we like present it, before we say that, kind of like what I did with my dad in that conversation with before I talked to my pop.
Yeah.
It's important. And like how things get phrased is important too. Like, hey mom, I just want to let you know I love you a ton. Okay. That's never gonna change. All right. I love you. I want to make that known. But I I can't have you being upset at me if I don't get back to you within 15 minutes. I can't have that. I can't have that. I'm 30 years old. I can't do that. Like we've been doing that for so many years. I just can't do that. Like I love you and I don't want that to be any question and I'm always here to help you. Okay? But I just want to let you know I can't have you getting on my case for not being in contact with you for 30 minutes. So the next thing is like then it goes into questioning them. So why were you upset that I didn't get back to you for 15 minutes? Why were you upset? And then the key in that moment is to just shut up and listen. And it's like, so what do they say or what are they about to say? And a lot of time it's listening. You know, one super cool thing was more than just listening to the words someone's saying, it's more the feeling they're giving off as they're saying it.
Yes.
So it's like sometimes it's an aspect of fear. Like a lot of times that pushes a lot of actions or dialogue. And so they might say one thing, but really they're afraid that you might be moving on without them, or they might be losing touch or something. And it might just require some affirmation that, hey, I'm still here for you. I'm not going anywhere. If I don't return your call for 15 minutes, it doesn't mean I've gone anywhere. It's things like that. And that's see, I'm a communications person. I love like that. It makes my life a lot easier when I can pick up on those things and explain it in a way where people are like, okay, you put me at ease. I feel a lot comfortable now with you doing what you're doing. Like, okay, I'll give you that space. I'll work on that. Thank you for talking to me the way you just did.
Yeah, and that ties into that book so much. And I know I kind of cut you off mid-sentence there, so I apologize. But that ties into that book that I mentioned so much. Like that's why I was smiling ear to ear. I'm just like, yes, preach, preach.
I'm telling you, man, it's that inner work too. Like, because once we have that information, then we can use it in our outer world, in our friendships, our family relationships, romantic relationships. It's kind of like having a superpower, you know. Once we know who we are, why we act the way we act, we're that much better at interacting with others.
Yeah, it's a good point. And it kind of to tie into exactly what you said, and I'll tell a personal quick experience that I know right before Christmas, that I'm pretty sure you remember this, that I wound up getting into a pretty bad car accident.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't my fault or anything like that. The person slammed into me to the point of that. For anybody that will view this podcast, that totaling a pickup truck takes a pretty good amount of speed and skill. And I laugh at it now. And at the time, obviously, I wasn't laughing. It was to the point I felt my back was broke, and I never got hit that hard in my life, like by a vehicle. And uh, what was it? It was 5 out of my 8 airbags went off. Like, so it was a very traumatic car accident.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's very easy to be that person that goes, "Why me? Like, why this happened to me?" And in the same breath, not to get all spiritual and whatnot, I actually turned around afterwards, because obviously I was like, "Why me?" at first, but I was just like, "All right, what is this teaching me?" And I'm like, I'm alive. I'm like, I'm hurting. I'm like, but what is this? What was this accident supposed to teach me? And and I mean, because it's somewhat still recent, I still don't have an answer. I don't know if I'll ever have an answer. Um, but a prime example is that when that accident happened, I was leaving my parents' house to go to my brother's house. And at the time, I was the only one with a pickup truck, which my brother just bought one. So I'm a little bit happy about that because I would always take trips to the dump for them, with their trash and lawn waste, so on and so forth. And that's what I was doing. I took some of my parents and I was going to my brother's to pick up his. And literally, I was a mile from my parents' house and it happened. And turned around, and the first thing I did was I hung up and I called my brother because he was expecting me to be at his house. And he goes, "What's the matter?" And I'm like, meanwhile, I'm going like, "Ow," like because I'm hurting. He goes, "What's the matter?" I'm like, "I'm not gonna make it to your house." He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "Someone just slammed into me. I'm like, I'm all right. I'm hurting. My car is completely totaled." I'm like, "I'm not making it to your house." He's like, "What road are you on?" I'm like, "The main road in between your and mom and dad's house." I go, right on, right past North Greenville University." He goes, "I'm on my way." Hangs up the phone. Then I called my mother. Turn around, called my mother. She turns around and goes, "Hey, what's up?" I'm like, "Are you sitting down?" And she's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Just sit down." And she goes, "Okay, I'm sitting down." I go, yeah, I was just involved in a car accident." And she goes, "What?" And she like I hear her starting to like get upset and like cry and X, Y, and Z. I go, "Mom," I go, "Yeah, I'm your baby boy." I go, "But I'm fine. I'm alive. I'm here." I'm like, "So please don't be upset. Like, I know you're worried, X, Y, and Z, and but Brian's on his way. I'm on like EMT and fire people are already here. I don't have time to talk right now." I go, "I'm alive." Hung up the phone. Meanwhile, when I saw her afterwards, she was still in hysterics, but mainly like I was saying to myself, I was like, "Why is my mom reacting like this?" I'm like, and I was almost like, it's funny because like her being upset almost made me angry. I was like, "Why? Like, why are you upset? If anything, I should be upset. I was the one involved in the car accident." And then I turn around, I'm like, what was the underlying thing about that? I'm just like, you know, she's upset because she cares about me and she loves me, and she'd rather have probably her been in that situation than me. And I've had a lot of injuries throughout my years as far as car accidents and hockey injuries and so on and so forth. So whenever she hears, "Hey, you need to sit down," she's like, "Oh Jesus, what happened?" So I went from being angry at her for being upset to sympathetic and being like, "Okay, that's the reason why she's upset." So to tie that whole entire long story into like, you really got to do that 1, 2, 3 and like count a couple seconds and really view it from other people's perspective and try to break your barriers and your walls down and improve not only your relationship with those around you, but improve yourself as an overall person.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that kind of questioning, like you said, like you noticed yourself getting upset that she was upset. So it's like
Yep,
it's important to like look at our emotions. Why do we feel the way we do?
precisely.
Like analyze them more so. Be like, yeah, and then finding out like she really just loves and she cares about me. And she like you said, she just wants to make sure I'm okay. So the best thing in this moment is for me to really affirm to her, "Mom, I feel I'm okay. I'm 100%. I can walk, I can talk, I can get a new truck. That's not a problem.
Yep,
Like, I'm okay. You have nothing to worry about." That's another good line. You have nothing to worry about.
that is.
Yeah, you're right.
That is actually a really good line.
It's a good line. Like it's a good one I found. You have nothing to worry about. I'm gonna be here for you. Kind of just puts people at ease.
No, it does, and it really is like kind of like that, like, huh? And then it almost like the light bulb snaps, and like, "Oh, that's really nice." Like, and it
Yeah.
kind of puts you at like that, like laid back, mellow,
Mhm.
like you're almost like petting a dog. Like that's how like your blood pressure is. Like you're just at like complete like emotional relaxation.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. it's it's good stuff. It's really important tricks and tips to be able to communicate and to pick up on that and to say it. And you might need to say it 3, 4, 5 times. And it's then you hug it out and then you kind of go about your day versus something that lingers, something that's just that, especially if you're getting upset about it, like then that's really not helping anyone. That just makes
No,
it worse. So yeah, it's that's the kind of stuff where if we work on ourselves, it's a lot easier to handle situations like that because then we're not making them worse.
I agree. I agree. And I've always said that, we're always so quick to turn around and say like, oh, well, I react because they did this.
Because they did this. Yeah.
Like, why don't you turn around and reflect upon yourself? Because truly, it's very easy to turn around and point the finger and say, you need to stop doing this because I do this.
Yeah,
But
yeah, the
why don't you, when they do that, do something different that is in more a positive way? Because if you start doing that in a more positive way, and then maybe say that to them, or they realize you're not reacting the same exact way, I
yeah.
bet you whatever they're doing that it rubs you the wrong way or pisses you off, either A, completely dissolves completely, or happens less or something. It's going to improve.
Yeah, it's either you can either like keep getting upset about it, or you can like, why do I get upset about it? I get upset about it for this reason. Okay, let me express that to them and then apologize and this or that. And like you could try to change that, and then as a result, they see that and they're like, oh, I'm gonna change, I'm gonna do this instead for my mom because I just know. And so it's like a back and forth. It changes it. It's
And it's quite funny, and I love listening to music. I really do. And I think you can agree upon that you do. We do.
mhm,
Um, but I'm so the type of person that if I'm in the car alone and if I have an hour drive or 45-minute drive, half hour, whatever,
mhm.
I will be that person that doesn't listen to music. And like, I'll just start reflecting on like my recent conversation, for an example. Like, if I just got off the phone with my brother and I basically snapped at him, I'm going to turn around and be like, all right, I need to talk to myself for a minute. I'm going to be like, all right, why did I, Thomas, get upset when my brother Brian turned around and said this, or when Doug turned around and said this, I snapped like that. Like, and I seriously like sit there and I'll just reflect and reflect and reflect and try to pull back layers and pull back layers until I get to like the nitty gritty pinpoint reason of why. Sometimes I don't get that answer. Um, and I could probably sit there for 10 hours and not get that answer. But at the end of the day, at least I'm attempting to get to that point.
Yeah,
So
I think that's great
a lot of
stuff.
people don't come.
Yeah, that's that's for sure. The world needs more self-awareness.
Yeah, and which is why it's funny because like I'd probably say 7 out of 10 times you and I talk on the phone, we almost have like that giddy, mellow, like, I'm doing wonderful. How are you? Like
Yeah.
just like s-
Yeah.
camaraderie or just
Yeah, yeah.
feeling between us. Like, and it's nice.
It
It
is.
really is.
It is nice. The self-awareness, like that's paired with other things like being grateful. Like we got so many things to be grateful that we just kind of overlook.
Yeah.
Um,
Like you got a roof over your head, you got clothes, you got shoes
it's
on your feet, you got friendship, you got family, you got your health. I mean, you can keep going on and on and on. Like,
yep.
I
It's
mean, those
that.
are obviously just the apparent ones. Like, I'm able to walk on 2 feet.
I have all my limbs, all my fingers and toes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have my eyesight, I have my smell, I have my taste, I have the ability to make food for myself. I have the ability to make self-conscious decisions.
That's
I
right.
have the ability of the thought process of being able to contemplate thoughts. I have the ability to speak. You can just keep going on and on and on. Like it's truly endless, and it's definitely one of those things. And I know I forget it sometimes, like, and I get so swept up in what I'm doing, or don't really have the time to be like, geez, this is happening, this is happening. Like I'm having a crappy day, and then like I kind of stop and I'm like, are you really having a crappy day?
Mhm.
Like, are you really? like the worst person that like is having the worst day in the world right now, because I sit down sometimes and I really reflect and I say, you know what? Think of it this way. Someone always has it worse off than you. Like, and I hate to go from that to what I'm about to use for a reference, but I don't have kids right now. I know you don't have kids, but let's just say I have kids. Obviously, I want them to be healthy and full of life, but some people don't get that chance. Some people, unfortunately, are taking their kids to a hospital because they have to turn around and say, "Hey, sweetie, I'm sorry you're in the hospital, but you were born and you have cancer." Like, and you have to think about that too, that that young child has a potential life expectancy that you don't know, that's undetermined, because it could turn around and take them at any moment. Compared to us, we're heart attack free, we're cancer free, we have a roof over our head, we're able to self-sustain, we hopefully will find a loved one in our life. uh, there's so many things to be thankful for, and it's good to have that light, like, just laid back mentality. And there is times you have to stand up for yourself. With a prime example of, when I was talking with John Spike, obviously you know him, but when he actually was dealing with this car incident, that he had, there was something that was a recall on his car, and then after they fixed it, he got his car back, and then it led to another problem, then another problem, and then he got told by someone that, well, you're lucky that we're paying for this for you, and he's like, excuse me. He goes, I am the consumer. He goes, I bought this car from you. You fixed the recall, and now my truck is having all this problems. He goes, I have my own business, and because you people can't figure it out, that I am not able to fend for my family. So is the fact that your recall led to this problem with my vehicle Chrysler's fault or I, John Spike's fault? They're like, Chrysler's fault. He goes, yeah, exactly. Checkmate, MFer. And he's like, and he had so much more intensity and passion about it. And he had a lot more details, but that was the gist of the conversation, basically.
I got that conversation with him too.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, he's an expert, if something's up, like he's a type who's really good at
Putting the
bringing
foot
up
down.
issues and like getting what he thinks he deserves, like making sure.
Oh yeah, he's definitely one that does not like to get pushed around, will not get pushed around. If you need someone to put the hammer or the foot down, he's the one to call.
He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. It's cool though.
And then if you need a hockey teammate, I'm the one to call.
Yeah, man. Yeah. How's the hockey career going? You
Oh,
in the league down
this past season was interesting.
there? I
Because
bet.
I had to miss a handful of games because of the car accident, and then once I finally was better, I decided to stick my foot out and block a shot. And yeah, I have a stress fracture in my foot right now that has been bothering me for the past 8 weeks. Uh, and then followed by about 2 weeks after that, I used to wear a half shield like the pros do,
Okay.
and yeah, I got hit in the face with a puck, so that was
Oh
fun too.
damn it. Yeah. That's
But you know what? The way I look at it is now is that my face is like, I'd say 95% better. I still have like a little spot right here that's a little swollen.
yeah.
The foot's kind of roller coaster ride, but you know what? I'm able to walk. I'm able to talk. If I wanted to go hiking or biking or whatever, I'm able to do it with very minimal pain. But you know what? I'm able to do it. So, but I mean, you know as well as I know that I've been playing since I was little. Something that I enjoyed, something that if someone turned around and said to me, like, you need to stop playing hockey, which multiple members of my family turned around and said that, I'm like, that's one of my things that actually make me extremely happy in life. I
Yeah.
go, yes, there are some things that happen where I do get hurt. I go, what's worth more, getting a little bit hurt or my happiness? I go, I think my happiness is worth a little bit more.
Yeah.
So if I get a bruise or a bump or a broken finger or X, Y, and Z just because I'm playing a sport that adds to my happiness, then I'm going to deal with that broken finger or X, Y, and Z so I can be that much happier.
Yeah. That's right, man. And then the beauty of it is that at the end of the day, we're the ones that can make that decision. And it was something like somebody said I heard it on a Joe Rogan podcast. I heard it somewhere. In reality, unless you're doing anything illegal, nobody can tell you what to do.
It's a really good point.
Nobody can tell. I can't tell you. I can tell you. I can suggest things. Even if I tell you what to do, you have no obligation to follow what I say. None.
Precisely.
Absolutely none. I can threaten you. I can try to take things away from you or this or that, which is like family related stuff. Like if you're being supported by somebody. But once you're an adult, unless you're doing anything illegal, nobody can tell you what to do. You can stay up all night.
Yeah.
You're totally in charge of yourself, you know. Yeah.
You're 100% right about that. And I mean, that kind of goes back into the family tie of that. I mean, I'm going to be 29 years old in December, so I mean, almost 30. And it's funny because, yeah, my older brother, he's older than me. He's in his 30s. He's 31.
Mhm.
But and he'll always do this because I'm his little brother. But he turns around and goes, "All right, well, we got an early morning tomorrow. Don't stay out too late." I'm like, "Brian, listen, I appreciate your concern, but for the fact of the matter is that when you're telling me not to stay out too late, that makes me want to stay out later more."
Yeah.
And I go, at the end of the day, I'm going to make my own decision. I go, I'm not going to make you wait. I go, I'm going to be on time.
Right.
Whether I'm hungover or not, it's going to be a different story.
Yeah.
I go, I will be there. I go, but like, let me make my own decision. Like, I'll be smart. I won't drink and drive. Like, I'll make sure I get home safe. I'll make sure I'm on time, X, Y, and Z. He's like, okay.
There you go.
He's like, okay.
That's it.
Shut that down real quick.
Mhm.
Go and learn today. No, kidding.
No, but it's important, you know, and yeah, it's skills, you know, dealing with family is something that everybody goes through, and yeah, it's a trick. You got to figure it out, but you learn more as you go, and like I have similar things with my brother and my family, and yeah, it's just about like continuing hitting home the same points and
Yeah.
maybe try to instill it a different way or try to find out like what are you worried about, like don't stay out too late means that like don't make me wait. Like if what he's saying don't stay out too late, you might indirectly be saying I don't want to wait on you in the morning.
Precisely.
So
Yeah.
he might say that. He might say like, I don't want you to be like losing energy or not having any energy in the morning when we're doing our thing. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll make sure to drink plenty of water before I go to bed. Like you got it. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be ready to go when we're ready to do our thing.
Yeah, no, and not to go into a potentially different tangent of the conversation, but it almost makes you think of that one commercial that goes, "I wish that I knew what I knew now when I was younger."
That's right.
Like, and like, truthfully, I pray at one point in my lifetime, in your lifetime, that time travel is possible, just to go back at one point in the past and just see someone's reaction to the my knowledge that I have now to going back to the past and then someone saying something to me and then my reaction being like so adult like and so different that like it just like their reaction to mine is like what.
Okay.
Yeah, like and just like throw them back. Like I think about that every now and then. Like it'd be kind of interesting to see like a 17-year-old or whatever, depending on what age you go back to, like their reaction to like an adult statement that like comes back to when someone does that. Like so.
Yeah.
I mean, there's. I mean, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but if it does, hopefully in our lifetime.
We'll keep our fingers crossed. You know it.
Oh boy.
Brother, we're coming up on, I think, about an hour and a half.
There we go. Look at that.
Yeah, time flies.
Yeah, when you're having fun, right?
I know. I love this podcast. You know, something about just it being recorded brings out like the cream of the crop of information and personalities and things.
Yeah, and we'll have to turn around and get the crew together, meaning like you, me, Spike, Shaman, maybe throw Strickland on and see how it really goes.
Ooh, that'd be funny. That'd be a funny one.
Oh, it would be very interesting, the topics of conversation that got brought up, needless to say, and I'm sure some stories would be told.
Oh yeah, yeah, good stories. Might not be appropriate to be posted on YouTube, but
Well, as
we
long
can
as
get
it
that
doesn't
set up.
involve illegal things, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, that sounds good. Um,
Oh boy.
Thank you, brother. Uh, we
Yeah,
good to
but we've
wrap it up?
definitely had some good memories and times together, and I know that you and I have talked through good times and bad times, and we always seem to have that the kind of bubbly mentality and kind of like this is a wonderful day. Like I have my health and the sun shining bright, and
Hmm.
I don't got a worry in the world today. Like, and we're not going to always be like that. Like,
Yeah.
if you're always like that, you're taking some good medication, and if you are, why not sharing?
Yeah.
um, all jokes aside, though, but I mean, you got to try to get to that more bubbly, more calmer self of the best version of yourself. Um, so, I mean, I feel like that we covered a lot of ground as far as like the way you should go through life, as far as like do that 3 second count and really just think about your response to somebody and think about why they responded the way they did. Um, and it's very easy to lose sight of it, as far as getting caught up in the moment and not thinking about counting the three or anything like that. But just have some self-reflection. Like, I mean, when you're driving your car, instead of listening to that song, turn around and be like, all right, like, why am I feeling this way right now? Like, I feel like, okay, why do I feel that way? Or I'm really happy right now. Why am I so happy? Or I'm really sad and depressed right now. Why? Um, and going to extremes of not only self-reflecting on yourself and other people and the conversations, just like, I mean, think of what you're thankful for every single day, is my opinion. I mean, truly your health and your friends, your family, and yeah, your family sometimes wants to make you go nuts. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm in South Carolina. I know that you would drop anything and help me out. But in all reality, if something went wrong, who am I going to call to help me out? My family.
That's right.
So just remember that. I mean, it's really easy to forget and lose sight, but do that 3 count when you're driving in a car. Like, take 15 minutes to self-reflect. Like, think of the positives in your life and just keep moving forward. And if you working out makes you happy, work out. If you uh, whatever makes you happy, find those things that make you happy. And I mean, if it's something like eating, just obviously try to eat healthy and do it in moderation, obviously. Um, but I mean, at the end of the day, just it really relies on you of what happens, whether it's through friendships, family relationships, uh, loved one relationships. So you control your own destiny, as far as what you do in life, whether it's for your businesses and for what you do for a living compared to your relationship.
Yeah. Well said. Well said, brother. Well, I'm thankful I got to have you on. This is a wonderful conversation, and I'm sure anybody listening got a good amount out of it. So I'm happy we could share some golden nuggets of information.
But yeah, there we go. Yeah, yeah, we'll have to definitely get some subscribers in for anybody that decided to watch this podcast. Thanks for joining. And Douglas, I'll kind of let you do the closing statements. I'm kind of saying
That's
thanks for joining. I'm taking your thunder
that's
here.
pretty much. Yeah, you wanna sign us off? Tell them to like and subscribe.
Yeah, so I the specific channel, Douglas, go right ahead and tell them the channel for everyone, please.
Yeah, the channel is Douglas Gets. You know, it's a YouTube channel, Diving and Thriving. Search it on YouTube. It's on gets uploaded to Spotify, Apple Podcasts as well. Like, subscribe, comment, let us know what golden piece of information you got out of this. And other than that, have a wonderful day.
Yeah, and then maybe in addition to add to it, if you have any topics of conversation you'd like us to discuss and talk about, feel free to leave that in the comments as well. We can certainly contact Douglas, and like he said, have a wonderful day.
Yes. Oh, also, Tom, if anyone wants to reach out and purchase products from you,
Yes, sir.
how would they find you?
Oh, for me,
Probably.
you can go on, probably my website would be the easiest thing. So that'd be www.apppisales.com. You can go on that website. My email address and phone number will be on there. And you can text me, you can call me, you can email me. Either or works.
Great. APPIsales.com.
Correct. Yep.
Perfect for all your products.
Yes, all your promo product needs, and I can certainly help you out and give you ideas, create virtuals, so on and so forth. So anything you need, you can certainly reach out.
Perfect. I love it. I'm excited to hear all the people that come to you through this. That'll be exciting.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, who are you? How'd you get my
Yeah. Make sure to find out.
The podcast. Oh, okay.
That's right. Good. I'm excited, Tom. Well, it was a pleasure having you on, and we will do this again someday soon.
Yeah, so it was a pleasure being on, and look forward. Maybe we'll do a meeting once a month or something like that, and have different enlightening conversations there.
That'd be fun. All right, brother. Well, you have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too, sir.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care, Douglas.
Later, Tom.
Later, buddy.